Welcome back everyone for an exciting retro restore where we are going to reshell this Nintendo 64 that it's kind of beat up a little bit. Going to reshell it with this shell that I got from Handheld Legends. I will leave a link in the description about this one because it's really nice quality and everything. And here's everything that it comes with. Has the little feet on there, has the cover, has the little buttons. So it comes with everything that you need on there. But best of all, the thing I was most excited about, it actually comes with tools for changing everything out too. So I thought that was pretty cool. But we're going to be using our trusty tool instead of this one. But I'll keep this as a backup. Never hurts having backup tools. Especially if you go around buying games all the time. Keep one in your glove box. Might come in handy at some point. So if my memory serves me correctly, we've not actually taken apart a Nintendo 64 on this channel, so we will do that and go over all the cleaning steps and everything in the process here. So first thing you want to do is remove this top part. And there are actually tools that these come with for ejecting them, but we're just going to pop it out this way. So this is an original jumper pack on here. You don't see those that often anymore. We'll just put that to the side and then move on to the next step. We'll remove the cover for the expansion bay. I've actually finally seen one of the 64 DDs in the wild, and I want it, but it's kind of pricey, so I'm not going to be able to get it just yet. So then we have 6 of the screws here. Just for simplicity, we're just going to call them game bits instead of any of the more complicated things. So if we just go through and remove all these, and if you need to know the size of them, they're the 4.5 millimeter game bits. Okay, we have 6 screws here. We'll remove the feet from here. If they don't come out when you dump the screws out, then they just pop right off. Put it back on the top here, and then just lift up. Looks a little gross, but not that bad. The last Nintendo 64 I took apart had some dead bugs in it. Guess there's like a piece of a plastic bag and some cobwebs on this top part. So we'll do the easiest part first and cannibalize the top of this. So what we want to do is start with these 2 Phillips screws on both sides of little cartridge bay. Then with the screws out, that just lifts right off. Then we'll take off our little flaps here, just kind of push them up and they just come right out. Then all we need left on the top part are the switch and the button. So the reset button, you just pinch here on the sides and it will pop right on down. And then the power switch on here, same kind of thing, both of these sides here. You just pinch on there and it slides right out. And then normally what I do with this is I would take I first take one of the cans of air and spray it out and everything, and then take a Clorox wipe and do a nice cleaning job on here, set it aside to dry. But since we are replacing this, I am just going to put this to the side right now, because we're not going to need it anymore. Then before moving on any further, just want to talk about this really fast. So this is how the region locking actually works on the Nintendo 64. So where the cartridges go in place, you have these little indentations here. And so North America ones will fit right in like that. But if you have the Japanese cartridge, those are moved over a little bit, so it won't fit inside there. You can actually buy replacements for these that don't have any of those notches in there. People like 3D print them. You can purchase them probably like $10 or less. You know what, we're going to have a little bit of fun with this. I'm actually going to use the Dremel to remove the region locking on this. So the next time you see this, it'll have no region locking. Okay, going to test this out now. Yeah, so I think that's actually going to work. Just slide that over there. And this will be able to play the Japanese games now. So I need to get it cleaned up a little bit. But what you do is pretty much those 2 tabs on each side, you just need to get rid of them. So it may not look the prettiest, because, I mean, it's not really made to not have those tabs, but it adds more functionality to the system. That'd be a way if you're wanting to save that money from having to buy one of those online. So we'll clean that one later. Let's get this next part done. So we need Phillips screwdriver, and let's start by getting this big shield removed on here. So all of these screws on this top part, we'll just pop them all off. A job like this using our big screwdriver. Also, before I forget to mention this, make sure you are grounded out anytime that you're going to be touching any of this circuitry. Okay, we have the 10 tiny screws removed. Now to get these outer ones and then the inner ones. Okay, we have all the screws for the heat shield done, so now it just slides right on out of there. Then we'll put that to the side. Then we want to take this big shield off of here, so you see there are these 3 screws there, 2 here, so we'll remove those 7 screws. Instead of a screw on this side, there's just a little thing that sticks on through. Then a thing to note about these screws is the ones that go by where the cartridge goes are long screws, and then the other 5 are the shorter screws. Then if we get this little screw down here that's right next to the controller ports, then we're left with these screws on each side of the expansion port, which I'll need a smaller screwdriver to get those ones. Still Phillips though. Those are pretty long small screws. You will always find long screws by any of these little ports. So we'll start by removing this shield by just pulling up. Then we can remove the big shield by pulling up also. And then to get everything else removed, we'll take out these 4 screws in the back that are hooked to these areas for the power and the video. And then just kind of grab this board here and lift up. Plastic part fell off. That can happen, but it just goes right back on. So we'll set the main board down and then finish cannibalizing this. So we have the diffuser for the LED, take that part out. Then we have these 2 metal brackets here. We'll just flip this over and let them fall. Then as far as the bottom of the shell, that is all cannibalized. Once again, normally what I do with this is use like the can of air, then use a Clorox wipe on it, but this one is definitely beat up a little bit. Like we have a nice cracked part there that's broken, and it's just time to retire this one and have the nice clear shell. So then what we're going to do now is flip the main board over, take that bottom shield part off, and then inspect this and make sure everything looks good on it, which the board actually looks pretty clean. Some of the stuff that was more exposed is not as clean, but we're going to give this a nice little wipe down. First do a spray off. If you're using a can of air, make sure you're in a well ventilated area. Then the final wipe down, we're going to use our trusty 91% isopropyl alcohol and Q-tips. Just get a Q-tip covered pretty well in it, and then start cleaning off anywhere that is pretty gross. Especially get the little controller spots, because those would have been the things exposed to the elements the most. Okay, we got this cleaned up pretty well, but if you've watched this channel for a while, then you know I can't leave good enough alone, so there's one thing we're going to change on here. So with the LED, just to note, it looks like this resistor right here, R31, is the one that leads the power for the LED. So if you're wanting to adjust the brightness or anything, that's the resistor you want to change. So for soldering, make sure you have some safety glasses on. I'm also going to get the ventilation fan going. Then get the desoldering wick in place and just soak up that solder. Then once the solder is soaked up, grab the LED, then it comes right out, and then you can just get rid of it after it cools down. What I'm doing right now is there's a little bit of solder left behind, so I'm just soaking it up. Then what we want to do, since we just use our desoldering wick and everything, let's just use some isopropyl alcohol and a Q-tip and just kind of get that spot cleaned up a little bit. You just have to make sure it's cooled down before doing that. Then we have our replacement LED. Then based on the last video I did for Nintendo 64 things with Perfect Dark with the capacitor, may not have done things exactly as I should have done, which was pointed out on, like, in the comments on there. Mainly because I'm a noob at all this, so what we're going to do is take our LED here. The longer leg here is the positive leg, so that's one that will go on that side. So we want it to face like this. So what we're going to do is grab it on these flat parts on the LED. Kind of hard to see with my garbage camera. We'll grab it there and then bend the legs forward 90 degrees. So then we have our LED with the bent legs. Then before I put the LED in there, if you notice that symbol, there's like a little arrow right here pointing that direction. Not the zigzag arrow, but the one where it's like a straight arrow in a circle. That's showing which way the electric current goes. So once again, that's our positive will go in this side over here, and the negative in this side. So we have our LED in place. Flip this over, and then bend the legs to the sides. Then we'll use our rosin core solder and solder these legs in place. And grab our little wire clippers. and just clip off the extra. Oh, those metal pieces always like to fly. It's gonna be painful when I step on them one of these days. Then after everything's done on there, just want to do one more wipe down with isopropyl alcohol just to get any of the gunk off there that the solder can leave behind. Then that goes to the side now. And now we've finished cleaning the rest of these components. And I normally try to avoid anything that puts moisture on the metal, but with how gross these ones look, I'm going to go ahead and use Clorox wipes to clean those ones off. Just make sure to dry them up pretty well afterwards. But if you have a better way of cleaning metal that's this gross, then let me know in the comments. And that's what the Clorox wipe looks like afterwards. Then we'll grab a separate Clorox wipe and get our little cartridge container area all cleaned up. Okay, that looks clean now. And then these remaining pieces, I'm just going to use isopropyl alcohol and Q-tips, since they're not that big. So then to put everything back together, we're going to start with these little metal pieces. One of them goes in each of these little openings here. Then with those pieces in, we have our diffuser, but our new shell actually came with a diffuser that's more of a clear color. This one's kind of foggy, so just kind of get rid of the other one and put this in. So the diffuser, the opening for it goes on the top, and it just kind of slides right on in there. Then we have our bottom shield. What we'll do is take our board, flip it over, and then put that shield over the opening there. So instead of using the normal one on there, we will use the clear replacement one, just because that will look kind of cool. And then we slide this into place. There's a little tab there and one right there, and we just get those openings right in place. There we go, our tabs are sticking through there. Then we'll take our bright silver screws and put those back inside each of these areas for the power and the video. And these new plastic cases can be kind of tough for getting the screws in, so I do recommend using a screwdriver that you can get a little more torque in place with, just so you don't strip any screws. Then what we'll do now is take the other big shield. This big opening goes to where the expansion pack goes. Then it just kind of fits into place like that. Then we have our little shield, just slides right down over this. And our additional metal pieces, this one, the small one goes up here on the top part, and then the other flimsy one goes down around the LED area. Then we have the tiny long screws. Use a smaller screwdriver for this one. So that one goes right there in that expansion bay pin area, and then the other one goes on the other side. Then we'll take our other big screws and put them in on each side of these pins. Then we have our 5 screws to go around on the outer part of here. These ones were the ones of medium length. Do not use the short screws, those are the ones that go on the bigger shield. And then your final medium-sized screw goes right here. You don't put a screw in this part because this is where one of the main case screws actually comes up through it. Then we have our final shield to put in place. Just slide that in there. So one thing you can do is put on this shield after this one's on there, with that one being the same type of screws as these other ones on the outside. I just always like keeping same screw types together. So that's why I always remove this one first and then do that one as I'm removing the other ones, just to try to not mix up the screws. Then we have all these really tiny screws to put into these slots. So we have those 8 in, then we have one that goes here and one that goes here, and then that's it for the tiny screws. Then we have the shorter black screws go in these center parts. Then what we have left are the 2 other screws that have, I believe those are torque washers, but if I'm wrong, let me know in the comments. And those go on the outer parts of here. Okay, then we will set this bottom part aside because we are done with this and handle the top. Now this shell did come with these for the top part, but I kind of like having a little bit of, I don't know, texturing, coloring, whatever you want to call it on there. So we're going to use the original ones. And because the camera's not that great, probably can't see it that well, but there is an F on this one for front and a B on this one for back, kind of like how the old cartridges have. We'll slide that in there, and then slide this one in. And there's no special alignment needed for these because it has this spot that sticks up here, and then this one, it hits against that wall there. So, after doing all the work on this one to get those removed, I just realized this shell actually comes with little connectors here to make it so this will work as a universal system. So we're just going to make it easier and install those instead. Just use our final 2 medium-sized screws on here. I'm going to get them started with the magnetic screwdriver and then finish them with the one that does better torque. Those screws were kind of a nightmare to get in, but we'll test this out. Okay, that seems to be good. And then this did come with a new power switch and a reset button. Once again, I kind of like having a little bit of the different color look on there, so we're going to go with the originals. Got them all cleaned up. So the reset button, the word reset goes towards the front of the case. That just pops right in place. Then same thing, the power toggle. Power will go towards the front, and then that pops in too. So now we have the fun part. We get to finish putting this together. So make sure it is in the off position there. And then take the top shell with the power in the off position. And then it just slides right on top. And then I'm going to do another upgrade to this one because this is going to be the new one that goes in my living room. So we're putting the better expansion pack in there. And then my current one from the living room is just going to be up here for me to test things on. So then we'll flip this over, put our little feet in place. There are little tabs that stick down that line up in holes on here. Then we get to put the game bits back in. We'll start with those 2. Then we'll do the 2 in the back. Then our last 2 are in the front and in the back. Then the final piece, since sadly I don't have the 64DD, is to put that on there. And you can order some cool stickers for the front here, but this one actually comes with a nice little Nintendo 64 sticker. I am terrible at applying stickers, but let's see if I can do this. Oh, that actually looks pretty good. I'm actually happy with this shell though. I was not expecting it to come to the thing to make it so you can use any of the regions of games in there. So it comes with that, so your system will not be region specific anymore. Plus it comes with a nice sticker and it comes with the tools. So I'll definitely leave a link in the description for this. Now I paid for this out of my own money. I sadly don't have any sponsorships or anything, but these shells are about $65 at handheldlegend.com. And they have various colors. This was the color that I wanted for it though. Now the most important part of anything like this, going to test it out. We'll start with the North America version of GoldenEye. It has been forever since I played this. I had so much unlocked on this as a kid. I think I had like everything except the silver gun unlocked. Even got like invincible, invisible, all those fun things. Yeah, so this game works on here. Now our other test, Japanese version of Pokemon Stadium. It's like Onion Turtle and Articuno and Puppy Chew and Dragon Chew and Gyarados, Blastoise. I actually know the Pokemon names, so yeah. I just like making up other ones. I have no clue how to read this, but that is pretty awesome that it works. And then one other thing to note, that LED looks blue on the camera, but it's actually ultraviolet. So I hope you enjoyed watching this Nintendo 64 get customized. Showed kind of the cheating way of getting it so you remove region locking from Nintendo 64, but with this shell didn't have to actually do that because the different attachments that it came with. So that was definitely pretty nice that it had all those extras. Once again, I'll leave a link in the description for where to find this, and if you have any questions or anything, then leave a message in the comments. If you haven't yet, please subscribe, leave a thumbs up, do all that kind of fun stuff. We have plenty more customization coming down the road, especially with a Game Boy Pocket and a Game Boy Color, probably a regular Game Boy too at some point, plus other fixes and just anything else that randomly pops up. So thank you for watching, have a nice day.